Hey, what's going on, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so it's 11 something at night. Can't sleep, so I want to talk some basketball. I was listening to Draymond Green's podcast. He was talking about the playoffs, the Game 7 reactions and everything that he had. I only listened to the first 5 minutes of the pod, didn't turn on the camera myself to hear my own mouth. But I'll get right back to him for sure. But one of the things I want to just talk on is what he was saying in regards to the notion that basketball players can't focus on basketball and do the podcast that he's doing. It's like he's not supposed to be able to do that or something. And he was saying like people would never tell Elon Musk to not focus on SpaceX because it's more so time to focus on Tesla, And I agree with that 100%. The notion that someone can't be focused on basketball um, because they're too busy talking about basketball is kind of strange to me. It's not like he's going off to, you know, preoccupy his time with different topics. He's continuing his focus of the game. So whatever things he would be doing with his spare time away from the camera would likely not have anything to do with basketball. So if anything, this brings him even closer to the game than he normally would be. But that's just my opinion about that. Um, I'm looking at these matchups ahead, and I'm really still kind of in shock about the Dallas situation, how they found themselves winning this series in the way that they did. Uh, they are definitely not supposed to be here, but that they are worthy. You know what I mean? And I think that's the bottom line. You fight your way here, you play the right way, great coaching, all good. I was listening to, or rather watching a snippet of Jason Kidd being mic'd up on defense, and you could just see how active he was. He was practically on the court, um, screaming out uh, different things that he needed his team to do in real time as the play was happening, and you could just see it. He's obviously one of the great basketball minds of all time, and his imprint was on this game, it's on this series, and it's on this team. And I think about my Lakers, and I realize, um, you know, that he was probably the person we should have kept as our coach. And I think that that's something that is not a news flash for anybody at all. I think we all feel that way right now. Um, really, the thing that makes me think about the thing that comes to mind, rather, the thing that I'm thinking about right now is just the Miami Heat. I'm really curious to see how they approach the Boston Celtics and vice versa. Um, I guess vice versa is probably the more intriguing thing, and the reason why I say that is because the Boston Celtics have been dealing with the Milwaukee Bucks, who are a team that don't have many weapons right now, given the fact they've been dealing without Chris Middleton. And, you know, they're Giannis centric, and it's kind of like they had some issues scoring the ball, issues uh, hitting threes and stuff like that. Miami is an entirely different type of team. Miami's more like Boston. They're more like themselves. They're going to be dealing with a team that has weapons all over the place, a team that plays team defense, a system that, it really doesn't matter who's on the floor. They're going to play hard. You got your PJ Tuckers and your Markieff Morrises and Max Struces and all these different guys, Dwayne Dedman. I think about the others on the Miami Heat. Victor Oladipo, Duncan Robinson. This is an entirely different challenge for the Celtics. The Celtics, they have a million different new things they have to think about when going up against the Miami Heat. A million different new things, including the fact that they do not have home court advantage. So that's something that really, really stands out to me. I mean, this is not a video talking about the matchups, because I'm going to do that for sure, making my predictions and everything. But this is just my immediate thoughts right after the Game 7s. So that's really curious to me. I'm wondering how the Boston Celtics are going to game plan the Miami Heat and vice versa. The matchups are intriguing. Robert Williams should be coming back. Kyle Lowry should be coming back. Um, I'm very curious to see how Miami's going to use Duncan Robinson. If he's going to be used at all in this series, is this going to be more of a defensive series? Who's going to overcome the scoring droughts? It's going to be the story. Both teams definitely playing defense. Both teams are definitely capable of launching a lot of threes. Both teams have superstars. Both teams are defensive minded. And they're both deep as heck. Both teams are very deep. I'm looking at the Grant Williams, PJ Tucker matchup. Those two are going to be going at it. If you talk about going at it, those two are going to be bouncing off each other like crazy. That's a matchup for the ages right there. I'm telling y'all. Be ready for PJ Tucker versus Grant Williams. I see that coming. Jaylen Brown versus, Jimmy Butler, potentially. Jason Tatum. I'm not sure who Miami's going to put on Jason Tatum. They're going to probably try Max Strus for a little bit. They're going to throw a bunch of people at him. Obviously, double teams, triple teams, walls. But in terms of like the one-on-one matchup, what's the matchup they like? Maybe Bam. Bigger guy on JT Money. Because I think, you're going to put Butler on him at times. You're going to put PJ on him at times. But I think those guys are a bit too short. JT Money's going to shoot over them. So I see that coming. They're going to have to put somebody big on him. And that's going to be an interesting thing there. Robert Williams, he's going to be essential in this series because Bam is going to be out there being a monster defensively, so they're going to need his rebound. They're going to need his defense. Al Horford, keeping an eye open for Al Horford, what type of role he's going to have in this series. Tyler Hero is interesting in this series as well. Is he going to have success closing against that Boston defense? Marcus Smart, where is he going to fall in? Marcus Smart versus Kyle Lowry, potentially. I think they could both create problems for one another, depending on how Kyle Lowry comes into this series, because obviously he's been hurt. So, it's just a lot. It's a lot there. It's a lot to look at, man. Victor Oladipo is big in this series to me, especially since it's a defensive series. I know how big he can play. So all of that is really interesting. And then on the other side of things, you look at Dallas and Golden State. And I'm just really not certain. Both of those teams are deadly. Both of those teams are shaky. That's really what it is. You won't catch me being surprised at any possible outcome in that series. Nothing. Because all the faith that I have in the Splash Brothers, I can't shake what I saw in Game 6 or Game 5. Whatever game that was, they got blown out. Game 5, I can't shake that. That was real. That was bad. And even though they came back and won Game 6, they are going to have to regain my trust in these playoffs. Honestly, they're going to have to do that. And the Dallas Mavericks, I like the Dallas Mavericks a lot in this series because they actually match up better in theory, just off rip. I'm doing the thinking now, but it seems to me that just style-wise, they match up better with this team than they did the Phoenix Suns. Now, the problem with that is this. The Phoenix Suns had a very difficult time hitting the three. And we know that will not be a problem that the Dallas Mavericks have, or rather that the Golden State Warriors have. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Dallas Mavericks game plan in this series. They can't have no-shows from guys like Spencer Dinwiddie. They're going to need more of this Spencer Dinwiddie than that Spencer Dinwiddie of all we've seen all playoffs long. Jordan Poole's important. He's going to have to be healthy. He's going to have to be sharp. He's got a lot of confidence going into this series, I'd imagine, coming out of that Memphis series. I saw him doing the gritty, making fun of John Morant, getting the last laugh there. So, he's looking to move on. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a big player in this series. All in all, you look at the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic is going to have to continue to play the way he played tonight. confident, ferocious, fierce, active defensively, and engaging and getting everybody the basketball, investing in everyone's success. That's how they're gonna win. Um, Reggie Bullock, he has to hit his shots. He's going to be active defensively, but he can't be a nuisance offensively. He didn't have a good night tonight. Nobody remembers it because of the score, but he's been off and on in shooting the ball. And if for some reason they didn't have those three performances from everybody else in Dallas tonight, and they were relying upon his shooting more, they would have lost because he did not show up offensively. So against the Golden State Warriors, I'm looking at a matchup with him and Andrew Wiggins. That's what's interesting to me. Um, and he's going to be tasked with guarding Wiggins, and I'm pretty sure Wiggins is going to be in on him a lot of the time. He's going to have to do a good job there. Simple as that. He's going to have to do a good job there. I'm not saying he's going to win that matchup because I don't believe that he's better than Wiggins, but he's going to have to stay in front of Wiggins. He's got to make things difficult for Wiggins, and ultimately keep his butt off the glass, because Golden State Warriors have done a fantastic job getting on the offensive glass as of late. We're talking about guys like, obviously, Kevon Looney, who turned into Dennis Rodman in Game 6. And then you talk about guys like Otto Porter Jr., who's been crashing the glass very well. Jonathan Kuminga, I'm sure, is capable, even though they don't use him as much as they should. Draymond, of course. So, rebounds are going to be very important in this series. I'm looking at Maxi Kleber. He's had a good series, particularly defensively and rebounding. Real smart player on the defensive end. I've learned a lot about his game in this series, and he's an asset for the Dallas Mavericks against Dallas for sure. He's going to have to be active, etc. Davis Bertans, etc. They're going to need those guys. Dorian, Davis, and Maxi are going to all have to be consistent and kind of have a strong series. Every game they can't have no shows. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, for both series, it's going to come down to others. I don't believe it's going to come down to stars in either one of these Eastern Conference or Western Conference finals. It's going to be about, will the others show up on the road? Because all four of these teams have that issue. All four of these teams have their flaws. Each and every one of them can be beaten. And I think it's a complete toss-up from here. Either one of these teams could win the championship. Either one of these teams could get blown out. Either one of these teams could blow you out. These series could go 7 games. These series could be a sweep. And everything in between, to be honest with you. The matchups are really good, particularly in the Eastern Conference. Those matchups are excellent. The styles on the Western Conference with the three-point shooting is going to be spectacular. And, just looking at it from a quick glance, I really like Golden State's depth in this series, even though Gary Payton II is not going to be back, so that does affect things a little bit. I do like their depth here. I think they can go a little bit deeper into their bench than Dallas is maybe willing to. But a lot of that's going to be riding on the, Spencer Dinwiddie and guys like, Josh Green. If they're going to play him, it's gonna be on the others to play well. Frank Ntilikina's been getting a lot of minutes in this series. He hasn't gotten a lot of talk in this on this channel, but Frank Ntilikina has been somebody who's really been helpful, slowly working his way into the rotation as given minutes, and he's a defensive player that I think is going to get. He's going to make some impact at some point in this series, I believe. So I look at him, and all of that. It's tough to really be certain, because you got guys on these teams that, like, I'm aware of them, but you just don't know what kind of minutes they'll be given. It all depends on what the coach's plan is, matchups and things of that nature. So, like, for example, I think a guy like Trey Burke could have a big game in this series if his number's called, but the likelihood of his number being called, I'm not certain of. So that's really what it comes down to. So I think matchups would dictate a lot. I'm trying to scan these teams and try to figure out, is there any big center that could create problems in terms of stretching the floor? Will a guy be exploited? I think of a guy like Dwight Powell. could he potentially be exploited in a series like this? Will they have to remove him from the floor so that Golden State doesn't shoot all the way over his head all the time? I don't know. I don't know. Only time will tell. A guy like Draymond obviously isn't a problem like that because he could, guard the perimeter and things like that. So that's never been an issue before. I think the athleticism of both teams um, is a story for the Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. When you look at these two teams, neither one of them are overly athletic. I think the most athletic player between the two teams is probably Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins. I don't think anybody on the Dallas Mavericks is an athlete like that. Maybe Josh Green, maybe Dorian Finney-Smith to a degree. But I don't look at none of their players as jump out the gym, easy bucket getters. None of them. Nah, not at all. So that's going to be a thing. Fast break points. Who's going to get easy buckets? I do believe that favors Golden State. And because I'm scanning across this thing and I'm looking out and I'm trying to figure this out, I do believe they should try to use Jonathan Kuminga with the Golden State Warriors in this series. Because he's going to get so many easy buckets, and I really don't see in my head anybody really stopping him like that. Especially since they're going to be so preoccupied trying to guard the perimeter and dealing with Draymond or whatever the heck else the Golden State's going to be throwing at him. There may be room for him to get some easy buckets, especially in second units. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Maxton Kleber's going to do a job on him. Dorian Finney-Smith can do a job on him. So it's not like I'm expecting him to come in and be a 40-point scorer or stupid crap like that. But what I'm saying is there should be opportunities for Jonathan Kuminga to have really nice games in this series. That's what I'm saying to you. Yeah. So that's something I'm looking at. Ali, man, this is great. I'm also looking forward to the draft lottery. It's been in my head that the off season is coming, and there's gonna be a lot to study. I haven't looked into the draft yet. I don't know who's who at all. I have no clue. But as the playoffs end and as the off season begins, I'm gonna start doing homework on that. I'm pretty sure I'll get back to you guys on a lot in regards to the draft process. So that's my intention there. And of course, I'll keep coming to you guys with these playoff thoughts. With this series that I've been doing on this channel, where I follow the entire playoffs. Go back, check out some of those games, check out some of my predictions. Some of them were really good, others were horrible. But that's just the nature of the beast. At the end of the day, I'm confident that my passion for the game and my passion for the league, and my almost 30-year history of being a fan, and an obsessive fan at that, has taught me some things, and I got a lot more to learn for sure. So I appreciate you guys walking with BDF44. This has been yet another one of my playoff thoughts, and I'm out.